Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Professor Diaz, and today we're going to be diving into Lab 4. So Lab 4 is integer division, casting, and formatting. The goal of this lab is to learn about integer division, casting a number to a specific data type, and we're going to practice formatting numbers as currency. We did that in Lab 3. We're going to do that again. So first of all, we need to create a command line program, so that means to get the user input, that determines the number of $50 bills to return to the customer. And then it says, as well as the change, we're not doing this part. You can do this part on your own if you'd like the extra practice. So we're just going to determine the number of $50 bills to return. And in the figure, you have a basic idea of what your final output should look like. And we have our software requirements. So we need a real number variable. This is going to be a float, usernum. Your program must use the following whole number variable, num of bills. So that's going to be an integer. You must use the appropriate type conversion / casting to determine the number of $50 bills to return. And then finally at the very end, again, if you want to do this part on your own for the extra practice, you may. All right, so we're going to get started. So first, we want to get the information from the user. And this time, we're going to use float instead of int. And then this will say input, enter the amount into the teller. All right, so this is what the user is going to see, and they are going to input a value here. All right, and we also need a variable, a whole variable called num of bills. I'm using camel casing again. And we're going to set this equal to user num divides 50, because that'll give us the number of $50 bills. This is going to be incorrect, but I'm just doing this so that we can use this as an example. So I'm going to print num of bills. I'm going to run it. And 167.50. And we have 3.35 for a num of bills. You cannot have 3.35 $50 bills. So to change this, we're going to use integer division. And to do that, you add another backslash. All right. And we're going to run this again. Now we're going to go 167.50. And we still have a value after the decimal point. We need this to be a whole number as per the requirements. So what we're going to do is we're going to cast the usernum, because remember, it's a float. We took in a float, and a float divided by a whole number is going to give you a float. We need an integer divided by a whole number to get another integer. So we're going to cast user number as an integer. And this will treat usernum as an integer. So it'll treat the usernum as the integer type. And now when we run it, 167.50, now we get 3, whole number 3 by itself. That's exactly what we wanted. So I'm going to delete this. Right, now we need our print statement. So we want something to separate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just to separate the text, the output text. And we're going to say, if you give me, we're going to concatenate, and we're going to practice the currency output that we did from Lab 3. And we're going to go like this. And again, it is persnickety. Practice is going to make perfect on this one. Or practice makes better, right? Okay. And we're going to format user num. Okay, so this will give us the format of currency. All right. Plus, I'll give you and then we use str num of bills to cast the num of bills from an integer to a string, because remember, when we make these output statements with these strings, we can't mix up our integers and our strings and our floats. Everything has to be a string, so I can't concatenate things that aren't similar type. So I needed to cast it as a string. str will treat this like a string. And then finally, $50 bills. So we're going to give this a shot. So I'm going to run it. 167.50. If you give me $160, $67.50, I'll give you three $50 bills. And that's all I have for you. So what we did here was we converted different types. We had our float, we had our integer, we converted a string down here, and we got a chance to practice the currency formatting. All right. I hope this lesson was helpful to you and that you get lots of practice. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day.